Well, hello everyone, good evening and welcome to One Hub Racing's Prestige Tier. We're starting a few minutes late tonight. A couple of drivers are just late arriving, so I think we're going to be going to the track in around about a minute or so. So here we are then at Hockenheim for round 11 in Germany. We're now into the second half of this season. We're missing quite a few drivers tonight, unfortunately. I will let you know who is missing and if there's any reasons why. So I believe we're only going to have a max of 14 drivers here tonight, but hopefully all 14 can keep it nice and clean and race well together, and hopefully we'll be in for an exciting and action-packed race. Of course, the league, One Hub Racing, proudly sponsored by Next Level Racing. Do make sure you check out their website. They've got plenty of cool stuff on there. They've got rigs, they've got seats, they've got pedals, steering wheels, all that stuff for the aspiring sim racer in mind. It's all very, very nice gear, so do be sure to check it out. With Christmas just around the corner as well, might be a nice little present to give someone or even treat yourself. So it looks like then a few drivers are now starting to ready up as we go towards the 18-minute qualifying session. Again, not too sure what the weather's going to be like, but I was told earlier that every race this season in the Prestige Tier has been dry. There's been no wet weather at all. Maybe that will change tonight here in Germany. We have had a few mixed weather sessions in qualifying. Most notable was Austria a few weeks ago. So maybe we'll see some rain tonight, but personally I always prefer a dry race because when it's heavy rain, everyone's on the same tyres, everyone pits at the same times. It can get a bit boring and lacklustre. With a dry race, you've got different tyres, different strategy, people moving up and down the field. So hopefully it's dry, but you never know, we might see some rain here tonight. So it looks like most of the field have readied up. It looks like we've only got 13 drivers then. Drivers are missing as far as I know. Paris in Williams is not here tonight. Same for Chapelele in the Racing Point. I believe Eli Yogurt's not here, Wommer's not here, Pablo Yogler's not here either, and a new driver, Calzo, I think it is in the Renault now. He's replaced Matt. He's become a bit disillusioned with just league racing, I think, in general. Nothing that the league has done, it's just he's a bit disillusioned with racing on this game as it is, and he has left the Prestige Tier. So Samster in the Renault has a new teammate, but he's not here tonight, and it is a debut tonight as well for Sam Gamer Official, who joined the league last week for the Red Bull team, replacing Marquez, who's been removed. Unfortunately, he wasn't available last week, but he is here tonight. It looks like on the right hand side then we do just have the 13 drivers, so disappointing. I always prefer a nice full grid, but if you've just got 13 drivers out there, pretty much all of them have an opportunity to score some points tonight. So as the qualifying session just begins, we'll touch on the Prestige Tier drivers and the Constructors' Championship standings as we now go into the second half of this season. ILRT Louis in the McLaren still leads away 56 points ahead of Blizzard. Louis sitting on 184. Blizzard for Red Bull in second place on 128. He's just 3 points ahead of Onyx in the Williams on 125. Paris is not here tonight, fourth place on 90. VRT Midnight in the Racing Point. Very strong part of the season he's having at the moment with some very high consistent top 5 finishes. He's in the fifth place on 78. Down at the bottom, well, Calzo's not here tonight. He's on 0. Same for Sam Gamer on 0 as well. Pablo Yogler on 2. So is Bretster. Wommer, who's not here tonight, also on just 3 points. In the Constructors, still very close as you would expect. Williams lead the way on 215. Red Bull second place 197, just 18 points behind, and the McLaren team on 187, a further 10 points behind them in third place. Then it's the Racing Point team in fourth on 105, Ferrari in fifth on 95, and it's Mercedes on 91, Alfa Romeo 74, Renault on 28, the Haas team on 21, and Toro Rosso at the bottom of the pile on 11 points. So it's clear skies, a little bit of cloud cover, but at least it's clear and dry for this qualifying session at least. So we might as well bring up all the details that we usually have in the qualifying session. So we've got a McLaren coming out first. It might be LR Nick, who's not supposed to be in the McLaren. He's obviously not chosen his car, which is a bit silly. So Louis then, I believe, is the first car out on circuit. Championship leader. So LR Nick at the bottom of the timing screen to see on the left hand side there. He is an Alfa Romeo driver. He obviously hasn't chosen his car, either forgot or just for whatever reason chose the wrong one. He is an Alfa Romeo driver, so if he does finish in the points tonight, he will be scoring points for the Alfa Romeo team, not the McLaren team. So that is a mistake on his part. So Louis then out on circuit, just coming down to their hairpin. And we've also got quite a few drivers out there. You can see quite a few of them already out on the hard tyres. Now, most circuits around here, obviously, you'll be expecting the soft tyres to be the dominant tyre choice in the qualifying session. But around Hungary and, around Germany, and then maybe next week at Hungary as well, the soft tyres are not really a good enough tyre around here because it's not good in a race. It doesn't last that long. It runs out of grip pretty early. So we might be seeing quite a few people out there setting banker laps on the hard tyres. And then from the middle part of the session onwards, going on to the mediums and trying to set their best lap time on those. So then maybe doing a medium hard tyre run, or tyre strategy, I should say, in the race. So I don't think there'll be many people out there on the soft tyres, or certainly banking their evening tonight on the soft tyres. So Louis then will jump on board of the McLaren driver as he begins his first flying lap into turn 1 and out of it, and he's probably extended already. Turn 1 here is a bit of a tricky corner, but we come down to turn 2 and then turn 3 anyway. We've got, I believe it's 3 DRS zones here, and we've got one across the main straight, one between turn 1 and turn 2, and then the main one, which is here now on a sort of curving straight. If a straight can be curved, well, it is, because here we are on it. We'll jump off board with the McLaren driver down into the hairpin. So I'm not too sure if he's invalidated. I think he has invalidated, because you can see that his EOS mode is onto 0. So yeah, turn 1 is a tricky corner here. It's probably one of the most trickiest corners on the calendar as far as I'm concerned to get right, because if you just cut it just a little bit too much or run just a little bit too far wide on the exit, then you will immediately pick up an invalidation in qualifying and a warning in the race as well. So Louis just moving out of the way. So we'll go and try to find someone else that's possibly on a fast lap. The key two's out there at the moment. We've got Samster as well, currently in sector 2. Onyx N is the first car across the line on the hard tyres with a 1 minute 12.664. Good evening to everyone that is slowly filtering their way onto the stream. There's only 6 people watching at the moment, but I know that the I believe it's the Pinnacle Tier still going on at the moment, as the Haas of possibly Thomas. No, it was Bretster just jumping out the way, as Thomas now takes provisional pole with a 12.153. Super Guy in the Ferrari into 3rd place on a 13.1, and as you can see there, all 3 of those on the hard tyres for now. Sam Gamer then, who's come onto the stream to say hello, and he's now currently on track, so maybe he's watching the stream whilst racing, which is probably not something I ever used to do when I used to race, to be honest with you. I didn't like having the stream running in the background, because all of a sudden if I hear the commentator scream and shout about something, well, as I'm racing, immediately you go to look at the street to see what's going on, and you don't really want to be doing that to lose any focus. So Sam Vent is now starting his flying lap on the medium tyres. Blizzard up into P3 with a 12.7. Bretster sets his first lap, but it's a uncompetitive 17.977. Matt's still in the pits. He's obviously going to come out later on in the session. Louis then now in sector 2. So this is his second bite at the cherry on this set of tyres. His first lap was invalidated, and I think he's given up on this lap as well, because he's not running ERS. So clearly then Louis is either going for a bit of a long run on these hard tyres, or he might very well just be in the pits at the end of this lap. In fact, he's put the ERS mode up to 5, so Louis is going for a bit of a long run in his qualifying session on the hard tyres. I think it'll be about 3 or 4 laps completed by the time he's finally put a lap in, but he'll be definitely back in the pits at some point onto the medium tyres out towards the end of the session. Midnight then coming into the stadium section, sector 3 here at Germany, which is relatively unchanged. Of course, the circuit itself had a massive modification before 2002, in the off-season 2001, where before, in the past, of course, they've blast through turn 1 and then the cars would disappear for the best part of a minute plus as they tackle the long straights in the forest section, broken up by just 3 chicanes, the famous Ost curve being chicane number 2, and obviously they then filter back out of the forest into the stadium section in sector 3. That was obviously changed coming into 2002, mainly to improve the racing and obviously for the spectators as well, who only really saw the cars for about 20 or 30 seconds in what was around about a minute 40 laps. So that's why we've now got the short circuit, but sector 3 has relatively being unchanged in all of those years. So Lewis has been out for a cycle lap on the soft tyres, coming back into the pits. Who else we've got out there? Louis still going round, and he's backed off. I think he has backed off, so I think Louis is just he's just going round, I think, then Louis, just to try and to get some invaluable tyre data on these hard tyres, because that's now, I don't know how many laps he's now completed on these hard tyres. It's still saying 0 laps completed, but if we go to fitted, you can see there on the left hand side he's done 3 laps. This will be number 5, to be honest, because the first one would have been his out lap but not counted. So Louis is having a bit of a extended test session here on these hard tyres. No harm in that, just got to make sure you do set a lap time at some point in this session. You don't want to be starting at the back of the field. So Sam then, the only driver to set a lap time not on the hard tyres. He's elected for the medium tyres. A 12.706 is good enough for P3, and only 6 drivers have set lap time so far. And well, apart from Louis, who's on the test session, we've only got Sam and LR Nick out on circuit at the moment who have yet to set a lap time. And LR Nick is on the soft tyres as well, which is a bit of a surprise. Sam then on the hards. He's already completed a lap on this set of tyres, so he's obviously put the same set on, going out again. So just under 11 minutes left of this qualifying session. Again, with only 13 drivers here tonight, I might struggle during the race to find things to talk about, but I'm sure I'll always have something to talk about with these guys. As Louis now takes... that's a wake-up call for everyone, isn't it? If anyone here didn't realise that Louis is a bit of an alien at this game, well, I think that's just been answered. He's gone 4 tenths quicker than Thomas on a set of hard tyres that have completed 4 racing laps. So Louis is the first driver into the 1 minute 11, so 11.764. I don't know if he might be well, no, he won't be. I was going to say he might be feeling brave and not come out again and start somewhere inside the top 10 on those tyres, but they'll be pretty used up by the time the race starts. So I think he will be in, and then he'll go on to a set of medium tyres before the end of the session to consolidate that pole position. We've also got Lewis out on circuit as well, and on Nick back out there, who is, remember, an Alfa Romeo driver. He obviously hasn't selected his car, so that will probably be a chalk against his name from the stewards once they look this back and realise that he's in the McLaren instead of the Alfa Romeo. And Thomas has left the session. Okay, that's a worry for Thomas. He's currently on the front row of the grid in P2 for the Haas team. He's left the session, so I can only assume he's picked up the infamous blue screen of death. He's lost connection. Hopefully he can rejoin in a minute or two, get back into his car, because it'll be a shame to lose another driver here tonight through a disconnection. So LR Nick round the final corner. This will be his first time lap on the soft tyres, and he's invalidated. 12.2 would have said, which would have been good enough for third place, but he's obviously invalidated, and LR Nick will have to go again into the second half of the qualifying session. Then 9 minutes remaining. Most drivers are back in the pits, but we've got Sam, who's now just moved up into third place at 12.272. Onyx back out on circuit, nearly 2 tenths down on his previous best, and now he's 600ths up coming into sector 2, so he might slightly improve here, but he needs to find about 3 or 4 tenths to get up into P3. In fact, he's now in P5. Super Guy has improved to 4th, and as soon as I say that, Midnight moves into 4th place as well, as Thomas does rejoin. Onyx wasn't happy with that lap on the hard tyres, comes back into the pits, dips a wheel on the gravel, slows down coming into the pits. So Sam up into 3rd, Midnight 4th, Super Guy 5th, Onyx in P6. Still 4 drivers yet to set a lap time here, as Thomas continues to leave and rejoin the session. So on board with Brettstup as he now starts a new flying lap, and he's immediately run wide on the exit of turn 1 and invalidates. So it's difficult to try and do a hot lap on board. I try and always do it in every qualifying session throughout the season. Most of the time it's a success. We can see a driver absolutely throw everything into the wind to try and get the best lap time. But here at Germany, we're seeing quite a few drivers invalidate literally at the beginning of their lap. So Brett Steven will back out of this. He's already turned the ERS back down to 0 to try and save as much as he can. He might go again on this set of tyres. I don't see any reason why not. There's plenty of time to set another lap, come back in the pits and maybe go for the mediums towards the end. But yeah, turn 1 is going to be the Achilles heel for these drivers tonight. Yeah, I've regarded it as, like I said before, one of the most difficult corners on the calendar. Oh, Brett's just taking a bit too much curve there. Snap oversteer coming into sector 3. He won't want to do that again as his teammate Thomas rejoins the session again. But it's not looking good for Thomas to remain in this session. Maybe he can't get back in his car for whatever reason. So Bretster will go again. Matibos out there on an out lap as well. He's just coming around to start. Lewis is on a flying lap. Did a 12.444 previously, which would have been good enough for P5, but you're obviously invalidated. Lakitu still in the pits. LR Nick in there as well. So Louis and all of them are still in the pits. So it's only only 3 cars out on the circuit then, really, isn't there? Bretster is going again, and he didn't invalidate turn 1 this time because the EOS is still in number 5. So we'll jump back on board of the Haas driver, opening up the DRS in on the exit of turn 3 along this long curving back straight. Best overtaking opportunity in the race will be into the braking zone for this hairpin here. You want to brake around about 70-80 metres. Indeed he does. Don't snatch a brake on the right hand side. Down to first, short shift into second and then into third as well to kill the wheel spin in the low traction zone. I mean, a nice burst all the way up through the gears here, all the way into 7th, possibly 8th gear as well. Heavy on the brakes. Into the left turn. Be careful not to run wide there because you'll lose time. Cut back then into the long right, careful of the curbs on the left hand side as well, into sector 3. He's nearly 3 tenths up on his previous best. This corner is absolutely fantastic if you get it right, but then here the circuit really narrows, difficult to overtake. You want to stay away from the curb there on the inside because it's an off camber corner and it will spin up the left rear wheel, left and right, and now the double right hand as well. You get a load of bag full of understeer coming through. You've got to be so patient with the throttle. Gas it, open up the DRS, come up to the line, and Bretster improves by nearly 4 tenths of a second on his previous best, but it's only good enough for P9. So the Haas driver is struggling here tonight. Hopefully he'll have enough time to get back into the pits and change onto maybe a set of mediums and try to go out again. Lewis back into the pits. Blizzard down in P10 at the moment. He's now on the medium tyres, so he might be going early before the end of his session to set his quickest lap. And Lakitu back out there on the circuit, just coming around to complete his out lap. He's on the medium tyres. LR Nick as well coming into sector 3. He's now on the medium tyres. Same for Louis. Matt Tibos is still on the hards, but this is an in lap for the Alfa Romeo driver. Sam as well about to come around to start his first flying lap on these medium tyres. So some of these guys are now starting to come out a little bit early. You can see there, if we look at the best, most have done their banker laps on the hard tyres, and now there, if we go over to fitted, you can see that pretty much everyone is now onto the mediums as well. I think Sam has invalidated at turn 1, which is why his EOS is being turned down. Peter Parker 24 coming on stream saying go Samster. Well, unfortunately the driver you're supporting tonight has already fluffed up his first attempt on the medium tyres, and he's going to have to go all the way around, save the EOS, and hopefully have enough fuel to go again. So Louis then out on circuit. Where is he in all this? Sector 1, he was almost 2 tenths up on his previous best, which is going to be a bit worrying for these guys. His first lap, of course, he's the only driver in the 111 so far, nearly 4 tenths clear of Thomas, who's having connection issues and may or may not be here at the start of the race. He set that lap on a very used set of hard tyres. Now he's out there nearly 4 tenths up on a brand new set of medium tyres. So there's an opportunity here for Louis to maybe sneak into the very high 1 minute 10s, but he has been pushed off provisional pole for now. Blizzard's gone early on the mediums, a 111.442 for the Red Bull driver. But what is Louis going to do here? I think this could be a very high 1 minute 10 or a very low 11 over the line. It's a 111.114, 6.5 tenths better than his previous best on the hard tyres, and I think that might be qualifying over for Louis. I don't see anyone else getting anywhere near him. Lakitu pops up into P3, 11.618 on the medium tyres. Where's Sam in all this? He's going again. What was his sector 1 time? We'll have a look now as he comes across it. He's just 200ths up in his previous best. He's going to have to find a lot more time than that as well. Where's Onyx? He's currently down in P9. Is this a fast lap all coming round now? It will be now to start a flying lap for Onyx, now on the medium tyre. Sam Gamer back out on circuit as well. He's 2.5 tenths up on his previous best. Now 8 tenths up in sector 2, but it looks like he's on the soft tyres. He is. So Sam then is doing something completely different to everyone else here. He's going out there and qualifying to set his fast lap on the soft tyres. And maybe an opportunity here for him to sneak right up towards the very front of the field here. Might be looking at possibly taking 3rd place here from Lakitu, but it's a bold and brave strategy call here by the Red Bull driver to do this on the soft tyres. Indeed, he just misses out on P3, but does secure the 2nd row of the grid. He hasn't got enough time to get back into the pits, change onto another set of tyres and go back out. So Sam's doing something completely different to everyone else here. He's electing to start this race on the soft tyres. Pretty much everyone else inside the top 10 will be wanting to do it on either the mediums or the hards. Meanwhile, Sam has moved up into P3 with an 11.565, so he's managed to get it right when it's mattered most. Super Guy starting his final lap here as well, whereas Onyx and all this, he's only 3 thousandths up, it looks like, in Sector 2. Louis retires from the session. He's pretty confident that no one can beat his time. LR Nick up into 9th place for the Alfa Romeo team, even though he's driving the McLaren. Here comes Onyx and all of this. He's backed off and he remains in 11th place, and that will be the session over for Onyx. So the man currently sitting in P2, P3 in the championship is not going to be even starting inside the top 10. So we'll have a look at everyone else then. A minute and a half left of a session. Sam, we know his session is over. Sam Gamer, his session is over. Blizzard, Lakitu won't be coming back out. Thomas is having connection issues. So the top 6 then, we won't be seeing any improvement from then. Matt Tibos back out on circuit. He should have enough time to get round Midnight. Where is he? He's just coming halfway around Sector 2 at the moment. Super Guy is warming up his medium tyres to go for his final lap. Onyx, we know, has finished the session. Bretster in all of this is 3.5 tenths down in Sector 1. So I think Bretster is over and done with for the qualifying session as well. And someone has just moved. Was that Lewis? It was. Lewis then finally sets his first lap time of the session in the last minute and moves that Toro Rosso up into P6. So the top 7 then, we won't see anything else from them. Sam retires from the session, as does LR Nick. So where's Midnight? He's just starting his final lap. Super Guy and all of this as well. He's 2 tenths up in Sector 1, so a good start for this lap by the Ferrari driver. Onyx, we know, is finished. Bretster as well, I think he might be coming round to start a new flying lap, but he's going to be running out of time here, so there's not going to be many changes, I don't think, towards the end of this qualifying session. You can see more and more drivers are now retiring. Matt Tibus has obviously made a mistake, retired from the session. Here comes Bretsley. We'll have enough time to get round to go again. So Bretster then will be starting his final lap right now. Midnight and all of this. Where is he? Well, where's Super Guy? He's there. So Super Guy will be the first one across the line. He's nearly 4 tenths up on his previous best. So as it stands, that'll be good enough to get himself up into 7th place. And if he improves a little bit more, he might be able to crack the top 6. We'll jump aboard with the Ferrari driver as he tackles the very understeery, very clunky double right-hander here towards the end of the lap. We've got a bit of rain that's, I think, coming down on screen as well, but I don't think it will change too much in the death throes of qualifying. Indeed, Super Guy up into P6. Can Midnight improve? He was 3 tenths up in Sector 2. He can, and move up into P6, pushing the Ferrari driver down into 7th. And now it's all up to Bretster, who has basically put it in the wall at the end of qualifying to retire. And that will be the session over and done with. A little bit of rain there at the very end of the session, but it didn't change anything too much. And Louis secures yet again another pole position. A 111.114, over 3 tenths quicker than Blizzard, who joins him on the front row. Sam, he'll be buoyed and pleased with that performance. P3 for him in the Renault. Lakitu joins him on row 2 and 4th. And it's Sam in 5th place, going onto the soft tyres. He may regret that decision later on in the race. Midnight joins him on row 3 and P6 for Racing Point. I mean, it's Super Guy, Lewis, TTG Thomas, who may or may not be taking the start on the hard tyres, and then Matt Tibos in 10th place for Alpha, also on the hard tyres. Outside of it, LR Nick, VSR Onyx, he'll be disappointed with P12. Bretster, who really couldn't get it together, in 13th. I'm going to take a very short break here. I'll be back with you guys during the formation lap. So here we go then. Louis leads the field round on the formation. That Dartbolt coming on stream saying it's a bit dead. It is, unfortunately. Hopefully once the Pinnacle Tier finishes in a few minutes time, then hopefully some of those guys will come onto the stream as well. Sometimes the streams are lively and there's plenty of people watching. Other times it can be a bit quiet. I think quite a few people have made other plans tonight, which is why it is a little bit dead, but hopefully it does pick up as the race goes on. So on the left hand side there you can see the tyres that the drivers are starting this race on. Of course, as per real life F1 rules and regs, if you set a time inside the top 10, your quickest time inside the top 10, you start the race on the tyres that you use to do that lap time. So you can see a majority on the medium tyres. Thomas in 9th, he is on the grid, he is in his car, so he will be taking the start of this race. He's on the hard tyres, the same for Matt DeBoss in 10th. The odd one out, if you like, is Sam Gamer down in 5th place. He's gone for the soft tyres, which might be a bit of a mistake as this race goes on. We'll have to keep one eye on him as he moves up and down the field. As for everyone else, Midnight continuing his good mid-season performances so far, running in 6th. I've just seen a Mercedes fly off the circuit. Was that the key to it? Was, but he's back on now. So you don't want to be crashing on the formation lap. So Midnight in P6, he'll be happy with that. He'll be looking to move up the field, challenge for potential podium like he has for most of the last few races. Super Guy in 7th, Lewis 8th, Thomas in 9th, you can see he's in his car, Matt DeBoss in 10th. It's LR Nick in 11th, who is an Alfa Romeo driver, but he's accidentally selected the McLaren. VSR Onyx in 12th, he'll be disappointed with that qualifying performance. Look to him to move up through the field in the early laps. And then Bretster, our 13th and final driver, as they all now take up their grid spots, as we await for the 5 lights to come on and go off here for round 11 here at the Hockenheim Ring in Germany. It's the second part of season 14. Plenty of action we've seen and talking points in the first half of the season. What we're going to see in the second half, we've got 5 lights here. And the lights go out and away they go now. Onyx picks up a drive-through penalty for a jump start, but it's a good start by Louis. Blizzard cuts across onto the racing line to get the best line to turn 1, keeps in 2nd place. Sam and Lakitu remain in 3rd and 4th. There's all action going on further back. I think Matt DeBoss and Midnight have had an incident because they've dropped to the back of the field. But as it stands, Sam's still in 3rd place. Lakitu in 4th. Sam Gamer on the soft tyres remains in 5th place. Onyx with that jump start all the way up into 6th place, but he'll be in the pits to serve that as the rest of the field now all start to filter down this long back straight. Are we going to see any moves further up ahead? We'll jump on board with Lakitu, see what's going on with the leaders. Oh, that's late from Sam. A cheeky dive bomb up the inside there, but he's going to be hung out to dry on the inside of the hairpin there, and he's going to have to filter back behind Lakitu. Sam might have an opportunity coming down into the right-hander as well. Flat out through here for both drivers. Oh, contact between the two of them. That'll unsettle both the cars in the braking zone, and Sam manages to scream just in front of Sam Gamer there, and now he's got VSR Onyx trying to hang this around the outside as well. This could get very messy coming into the stadium section. They need to sort themselves out because it's one line traffic through here, and Sam does hold on to that P5 ahead of Onyx. Super Guy and Lewis filtering in close behind as well. Further down, LR Nick in 5th. Thomas has lost a position down into 10th place, and Bretster, Matt DeBoss and Midnight a long way back in 13th. Does he have damage on that front wing? He does. The end plate is missing on the front left, but at the end of lap 1, Louis leads. Blizzard in 2nd, Lakitu in 3rd, Sam 4th, Sam Gamer in 5th, and Matt DeBoss, Onyx in the pits end to serve his drive-through penalty. Midnight coming in as well to fix that front wing. So Louis leads. Blizzard holding on into 2nd place at the moment. They're dropping Lakitu just a little bit, and he's got Sam and Sam Gamer behind him as well, and Sam really needs to push on in these opening laps on these soft tyres. He's got to make the early advantage that he'll have over everyone else count, but these soft tyres are going to be wearing off sooner rather than later. Further back there we've got Super Guy and Lewis dicing over 6th and 7th, and LR Nick is going to think about trying to follow the Toro Rosso driver through. We'll jump aboard with the McLaren driver. He is an Alfa Romeo driver, of course, as he filters back in line in 8th place. Is he going to think about a move up the inside? Has half a look, but it's not really an overtaking opportunity. Meanwhile, further back, Thomas and Bretster close together in 9th and 10th. Matt holding on in 11th. Onyx a long way back in 12th. Drive-through penalty served for jumping the start. And Midnight now onto the hard tyres after pitting at the end of lap 1 for a new front wing. So coming towards the end of lap 2, DRS will now be enabled. 3 DRS zones here. 1 along the main straight, 1 between turn 1 and turn 2, and then the 3rd and final DRS zone between the exit of turn 3 and turn 4, that long curving back straight. Louis sets a new fastest lap, a 14.7 I think it was, as Blizzard picks up a 3-second time penalty, quickly followed by Lakitu as well, and Lewis as well down in 6th place. So turn 1 is already starting to cause issues for some of these drivers. I think there's a possibility that someone could very well be disqualified tonight if they keep bunny hopping over the curves going into and out of turn 1. No moves further back by the looks of it. Sam already dropping off here a little bit as Lewis in the Toro Rosso now up the inside. We'll jump on board with the Ferrari of Super Guy to see how this move is completed coming into the hairpin. Lewis goes a little bit deep. Sam might be able to get the cut back. Indeed he does. And now it's going to be a drag race between these two down into the right hander. Sam has the optimal line, but if Lewis can just about hang on, he might have the inside line. He doesn't. Sam immediately over to the left to defend, and he's going to be able to keep Lewis behind at this point. So Sam dropping time to the top four ahead as he's busy defending from everyone behind him. Soft tyres might very well be starting to fade even in these early laps. And I think Sam's probably realising already at this point that starting the race inside the top 10 on the soft tyres with everyone else pretty much on the mediums wasn't really the way to go. He might have to be locked into a two-stop strategy here, or try to take these softs as far as possible and go brave it out on a set of hards for the best part of 3/4 of this race. I don't think that's going to be the way for him. I think he's going to be slowly but surely falling down that order. Into lap 4 of 34 then. Clear skies here, so there's no threat of rain as of yet. Good exit though through turn 1 by Lewis. He's already up the inside coming into turn 2. Sam will try to defend this around the outside if he can. Super Guy might have an opportunity as well. He's going to pick up double DRS as well off of these guys. Onyx exceeds track limits somewhere, probably turn 1. And look at this, we're almost 3 wide then coming down. Oh, this wasn't really the angle I wanted. That's the angle I wanted to see. Who's going to win in this little battle of the trio cars? It's the Ferrari Super Guy up the inside, almost squeezed off the circuit a few seconds ago, and Super Guy managed to get past both drivers as Sam loses the back end there a little bit of contact I think with Lewis, but no harm no foul. Lewis in the middle of a circuit. Sam's got to be very careful here he doesn't snatch a break and cream into the back of the Ferrari. He doesn't. He does get a bit of a puff of smoke from the front left, but Sam then loses 2 positions. Lewis off the circuit as we now will jump on board with a Toro Rosso driver into the stadium section here. Lap 4 of 34. Super Guy now up into 5th. Lewis 6th. Sam now starting to lose positions. Got to be careful because LR Nick is very close behind as well. The leaders haven't really changed. They're pretty much close together as you would expect as the fastest lap keeps chopping and changing. It's now to Blizzard with a 14.750. Darkbolt coming in saying doesn't understand why Brett has gone mediums. It might pay off, it might, but starting outside the top 10 you kind of want to go for the hard tyres really and lock yourself into going long onto the first stint and trying to make your way up the field that way. So LR Nick then in 8th place at the moment. He'll have DRS off of Sam, who in turn's got DRS off of Lewis. The only person in this that hasn't got the DRS is Super Guy, so he might have to defend coming into the hairpin. He's going to stick to the racing line, so up the inside comes the Toro Rosso driver. Oh, and Sam and LR Nick very close in the background as well. What's going on with them? Well, Sam's off the circuit a little bit, so it's another position lost by the Red Bull driver. This is his first race in the Prestige tier. He joined the league last week, but was unable to race at Silverstone. So tonight is his debut, and he's finding the going tough, having to start the race on those soft tyres. So the top 4 are pretty much comfortable, just playing follow the leader for now. All the action here is pretty much from 5th all the way down. Onyx slowly catching up to these guys as you would expect, but he's almost still 10 seconds back. Midnight as well, I believe, is being in the pits again because he's only completed 2 laps on those hard tyres. So Midnight in 5 laps is being in the pits twice. As Lewis just runs wide a little bit there through the final corner, as do a few other cars in the background as well. Jump on board of a Toro Rosso driver. Better exit again through turn 1. Lewis seems to be nailing turn 1 quite nicely here compared to the other cars around him. Up the inside into turn 2. Pushing Super Guy down into 6. Who's going to get the DRS? It will be Super Guy. You can just see there, audible beep in the air, finger on the button. And it's going to be a drag race between these two. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two of them. No harm, no foul. You can see the leaders up ahead. They're busy just minding their own business. And Super Guy up the inside into 5th place. What's going on further back? LR Nick still holding on to 7th. Thomas is now into 8th place. Sam is down into 9th. And he's got Matt Tibos and Bretster squabbling over 10th and 11th. So Sam then slowly starting to fall down the order. I think it would have been expected on those soft tyres. I think he'll be pitting sooner rather than later to get off of those Red Bull tyres. Go for a set of either mediums or hards and try to save his race as best as he can. Bretster and Matt very close together in 10th and 11th. For everyone else further up ahead, the real battle is here with the midfield cars. You can see up front there, Blizzard is about 6.5 tenths away from Louis, and they've dropped Lakita and Sam. So we've got 2 cars fighting, if you like, over P1, 2 cars over P3 and P4. And then all the way back to these guys. Oh, and Thomas again leaves the session. So Thomas has been having connection issues all night. You can see his car's ghosted there. That will now be slowed down due to the AI. And Thomas is slowly going to start losing those positions and losing lap time as his teammate picks up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits at turn 1. So we'll jump on board with Brettster. Oh, Sam's off the circuit. Massive snap of oversteer there coming through turn 3, and Sam drops all the way down into 11th place, and I think he's probably at this point going to decide, yep, enough's enough, I'm going to be in the pits. Look at this, though, they're 3 wide up ahead for 7th, 6th and 5th between Super Guy, LR Nick and Lewis, and Lewis has won that little battle out just for the moment. LR Nick now up into 6th place, and Super Guy then drops 2 positions down into P7. LR Nick, that was some wild driving there, and Super Guy's going to try and hang this around the outside. Is Nick going to be able to fight back? Oh, contact between the two of them, and Nick's being pushed off the circuit, and he's going to lose position all the way. Even Thomas, who's disconnected, has managed to get past him. So LR Nick then all the way down into 10th place. 2 into 1 will not go. And the Alfa Romeo driver, who's racing for McLaren tonight, will not have been happy with that. Thomas now does start to lose positions as Brettster moves up into 7th place. So a little bit of gap forming there now between these guys due to various incidents involving Sam and LR Nick. So that 8 of 34, Sam indeed does pit off of those soft tyres. We'll come back up to the leaders, see what's going on with them. Louis then holds a 6/10 of a second lead over Blizzard. They're dropping Lakitu and Sam. LR Nick picks up a 3-second penalty. Thomas has rejoined, and Onyx manages to get the jump on Sam, who's in the pits going for a set of medium tyres. So he's on a 2-stop strategy, soft, medium, medium probably for the Red Bull driver. As Blizzard at the moment, I think, is quite happy to just play follow the leader behind Louis, who's probably expected to disappear a little bit into the distance, but he hasn't managed to do it. Meanwhile, further back, Matt Tibos and Thomas are fighting over 8th and 9th, was it? But Thomas is a long way back, so I think he's back in his car now. He hasn't ghosted, so I think he's back up to full racing speed as Matt and Brettster now fight over 7th and 8th. Plenty of action with the lower half of the top 10 here. Oh, Brettster's off the circuit. He's going to be careful, having to be careful rejoining, but he does so a couple of car lengths ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver. Almost dips the wheel into the gravel as well, and I think some of these guys are really pushing these medium tyres. And Midnight again into the pits. What is going on with Midnight? Has he picked up more damage? Is he retiring finally this time? He's already a lap down as Blizzard picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's at least his second of this race. So there's a possibility that the final classification could chop and change once they all finish this race in many, many laps' time. But Louis is managing to keep it relatively clean so far on board with the Red Bull driver. Is he going to be able to gain down this back straight into the hairpin? He is, but he's not close enough to try anything. And as he goes for a rash move up the inside, both heavy on the brakes. Lakitu and Sam still very close together as well. Good performance so far from Sam. Qualified in 3rd. He's lost a position to Lakitu, but he's hanging on to that Mercedes driver, and they're well clear of all these guys further back. Lewis in 5th, Super Guy, Matt Tibos 6th and 7th, and we've got Brettster, Thomas and LR Nick all very close together, as well as Sam picks up a 3-second time penalty. So 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, very close together. LR Nick, just gets a bit of a love tap from Thomas behind, who doesn't pick up any front wing damage because of it, so he's lucky to get away with that one. And Onyx, meanwhile, is slowly catching these guys. It was 9.6 a few laps ago. Now it's down to 7.1. Sam Gamer a long way back, having recently made a pit stop onto the medium tyres, and Midnight is over a minute behind Sam. He's a lap down to everyone apart from Sam, because I think it's Onyx just ahead. It is. So Midnight, I don't know what's going on with Midnight. He's been in the pits, I think, at least 3 times at this point. At least 3 times. And Thomas, again, his connection really isn't working for him tonight. And he leaves the session yet again after setting the fastest lap with a 13.4. I don't think that's legit somehow. I've seen it before where people lose connection and then their car crosses the line and it sort of lags in front a little bit. I don't think a 13.4 is a realistic lap time for that car on the hard tyres at this stage of the race. But Louis still leads, lap 10 of 34. Meanwhile, further back, Sam finally up the inside of Lakitu into the hairpin. He's been threatening for the last few laps. You've seen them so close together on circuit. And Red Bull driver now retakes the position he started this race in P3, pushing Lakitu down into 4th. Lewis and Super Guy have broke away from everyone else behind. They're now in their own little duo battle for 5th. between the Toro Rosso and the Ferrari drivers. We've got 2 cars fighting over first and second, 2 cars over third and fourth, 2 cars over fifth and sixth, and we've got 3 cars fighting over seventh, eighth and ninth. Matt Tibos, LR Nick and Britster as Thomas starts to lose more and more time, leaving the session yet again. It's lap 10 of 34. The medium runners will slowly start to be thinking about when is the right time for them to jump into the pits. It won't be for a few more laps yet, but they'll be all looking to go mediums onto hards. Matt Tibos is sort of the odd one out in this little battle at the moment, starting on the hard tyres, and you know, if he can keep relative pace with the guys around him, which is what he's doing, it's going to put him in favour towards the end of this race. He extends turn 1 just a little bit. Lewis in 5th picks up a 3-second penalty as well. So plenty of penalties coming in tonight. That will continue to happen as this race goes on. Onyx again with a 3-second time penalty. There's a real danger that someone could be disqualified tonight. And Wommer comes in, who's unavailable to race tonight, putting his support behind Louis, who is comfortably leading this race, even though he is just a few tenths ahead of Blizzard. But we've seen before in the past that Louis is quite comfortable having people behind him whilst in the lead of this race. He just sticks to his line, does what he needs to do. We saw in Austria in the first half of the race that Louis had about 4 or 5 cars very close behind him, and Louis wasn't phased at all. He wasn't bothered. He just stuck to his own game plan and was quite happy having people follow him around, and that's what Blizzard's doing at the moment. He hasn't been any more than about a second. He hasn't been more than a second, I should say, away from Louis at any point in this race. And it'll be interesting to see if Blizzard decides to pit before Louis as well to try and get the magical undercut. It's still a few laps away until we see the medium runners into the pit. Sam and Lakitu still fighting over third and fourth, and Lewis comes into the pits a few laps early, I think, coming off of those medium tyres. And this is going for another set of mediums and going to be bold and brave. But to be honest, it's mediums on the hards is the ideal strategy, and that's exactly what he's doing. Britster picks up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding at turn 1. On go to hard tyres for the Toro Rosso driver. Drops him down into 11th place. He will stay ahead of Sam. And Onyx again picks up another 3-second time penalty. Lap 12 of 34. And Onyx then, plenty of penalties with him at the moment. Louis still leads, Blizzard in second. Sam and Lakitu still fighting over third and fourth. And we've got yellow flags in sector 2 or 3. There's Onyx there. We'll jump back on board with Sam Gamer. On the right hand side, you can see that Williams, I believe he's possibly crashed. I reckon he has, to be honest with you. Obviously probably running wide, coming through the right hander, losing control of the car over the curb. And Onyx's difficult and disappointing race comes to a premature end. Super Guy in the pits, coming off of the medium tyres onto a set of hards. And LR Nick retires from the race as well. He's lost it, I think, on the exit of turn 1. We'll try and jump on board with Super Guy if he can. There's his car. So LR Nick, I think, has lost control of his car. But if you can see that, it's still perfectly fine to carry him around the circuit. So he might be in trouble from the stewards by retiring on track a perfectly healthy car. It's now AI controlled and moved over to the side of the circuit. It might very well bring out a safety car because of it. I haven't seen anything yet, just the yellow flag still in sector 1, and LR Nick immediately leaves the session in disgust. So we've lost 2 drivers in the space of 30 odd seconds. Midnight still going round, but he's ghosted. I think he's probably paused or maybe left the session without me noticing. So we can pretty much discount Midnight at the moment because he's a long, long way behind, which pretty much leaves just 10 drivers still circulating round, which is it's a shame. And Tom does come on stream to say the game is disconnecting him every 5 minutes. Which is why Thomas is really struggling to even race tonight. And Onyx comes on string as well, basically saying he can't be bothered. So maybe Onyx is intentionally crashed as well. I'm not too sure, but he might get the wrath of the stewards by doing it. Intentionally crashing or retiring on circuit is a bit of a no-no. As Lakitu pits onto the hard tyres at the end of lap 13, rejoins behind the disconnected, ghosted car of Thomas. He'll be easily able to pass that hard car and he's many seconds behind Bretster, so he's got clean air now for Lakitu to try and get the undercut on Sam, who would have seen the Mercedes driver pit behind him a lap ago. So I think Sam might be in at the end of this lap as well. Louis and Blizzard, I think one of them may very well be in at the end of this lap as well. We're getting to the stage now when the medium runners are now starting to think of pit stops. We've seen Lakitu, Lewis and Super Guy in the pits in the last couple of laps. So Super Guy and Lewis continue fighting over 8th and 9th. Actually, they're really exchanging positions here. It's obviously down at the hairpin, indeed it was. Super Guy then puts the move on into P8, pushing Toro Rosso driver Lewis down into 9th. Louis and Blizzard both in the pits, and does Sam come in the pits as well? He does. So the top 3 in the pits at the end of lap 14. We'll stay on board with Blizzard. Well, we'll come off board obviously, see if he gets the jump on Louis. Does he get held in the pits? He doesn't by Sam, so that's helpful for Blizzard. Does he get the jump? He does get the jump. Blizzard gets the jump on Louis in the pits. That'll be bad news for the McLaren driver. Matt Tibos takes the lead on the hard tyres, and Blizzard jumps Louis in the pits. Does Sam get the jump on Lakitu and all this? Will jump aboard with Mercedes driver. There's Sam on the right hand side, and Lakitu does do the magical undercut, pitting a lap earlier up into 3rd place. But the big news then, Louis, he'll have DRS I think immediately, and Blizzard's gonna have to go on the defensive. Or does he just stick to the racing line? He stays to the racing line. This is now the battle for the lead really. Matt Tibos is out of position, having started on those hard tyres, and Blizzard puts up no resistance whatsoever and allows Louis the inside line to the hairpin, and Louis does retake the lead of this race once Matt pits. Lakitu then is a net P3. Sam will not be happy having been jumped in the pits. Thomas in the dizzying heights of 6, even though he's technically not racing anymore. And then we've got Lewis and Super Guy exchanging positions yet again. This could be a race-long battle between these guys. Sam still bravely holding on, but he's off strategy, remember, on those medium tyres. He's already done 7 laps, so he's definitely on a 2-stop strategy, unfortunately for him. Bretster as well. He's a couple of seconds back, but he's on the same strategy as Lewis and Super Guy. So if he puts his head down and cracks on, he might be able to catch him, guys. So then Midnight pretty much almost a lap behind everyone at this point. We'll have a look at Midnight, actually. How many stops has he made? I reckon 3. Yes, he's made 3 pit stops. The only guys that haven't: Thomas, who's not racing anymore because of his connection, and Matt Tibos, who is starting this race on the hard tyres. So Louis and Blizzard will stay together now, as we saw in the first half of this race. And will Blizzard now try with the DRS to come back at Louis? We saw him have the opportunity maybe once or twice. Is he going to think that maybe now this is the go time now onto the hard tyres to now start putting some more pressure on the McLaren driver? Blizzard knows if he wants any chance of winning this championship, he's got to start consistently outscoring Louis. So sitting behind the championship leader for the majority of this race isn't really going to do his or his championship chances any favours whatsoever, because as long as this goes on, Louis is continuing to extend the lead on this championship move. Onyx in P3 out of this race as well, so it's a good opportunity for Blizzard to score some really, really good points here with a race win. Move away from Onyx, who's a retirement, and close up just a little bit to Louis ahead, who's got an over 50-point gap. At the moment, Blizzard no way through here around the stadium section. And Lakitu and Sam still very close together in P4 and P5. Super Guy and Lewis continuing to battle over 7th and 8th. Sam not really catching, and neither's Bretster, as Matt Tibos, the leader of this race at the moment, picks up a time penalty for exceeding at turn 1. And you can just see just how much understeer and dirty air you pick up following a car so closely in front. But Lewis, I should say, really gets a good exit through the final corner and through turn 1 as well. But he was too close, really. He had to back out of the throttle just a little bit more. But I feel that we're going to see another potential overtake here, coming out of turn 3 down into turn 4, the hairpin. Will Super Guy defend, but a snap oversteer there, controlled nicely by Lewis. And again, audible beep in the air, finger on the button, the DRS is open, gaining all the time. Does Super Guy decide to defend? He does. He moves over to the right hand side. Lewis ducking, weaving around, trying to put the Ferrari driver off. He's going to take the outside line, try to cut back here if Super Guy goes deep, which he does. Does Lewis get a good exit? He does indeed. Pulls alongside. This should be a comfortable move back up into 7th place. But if Super Guy can hang it around the outside, which he has, he's got the inside now for the left-hander. Late on the brakes on both drivers, a little bit of contact between them. No harm, no foul. And Lewis does manage to keep that 7th place for now. All this battling is allowing Sam to slowly creep back in as well. But I think it's going to be just a few laps until Sam is back in the pits. Probably the end of lap 20. He would have completed, I think, 12 or 13 laps on a set of mediums, and then 14 to go as well. So probably about lap 20, 21, Sam will be in for his second pit stop, which will promote Brettster into 9th. But at least Sam will hold on for the final championship point unless he retires or someone else does ahead as well. Matt then, going long in this race on the hard tyres, has now got both Louis and Blizzard behind. Will come off board the Red Bull driver, because look at this. This is the best, this is the closest he's been all race so far, but Louis also has the DRS from Matt behind. And Blizzard again is not really interested. We haven't seen him really try and overtake here. He got the jump in the pits and then immediately rescinded the race lead without defending into the hairpin. Louis up the inside of Matt. I don't think Matt will put up too much of a fight here, and Blizzard easily follows himself through as well. So Matt then running to a pace, running his own strategy, doesn't really see the need to be fighting the leaders. He's not in their race. So into the stadium section at 18 off 34, second half of this race now. Just 10, technically 11 drivers remain, but Thomas, we know, has disconnected and left, and I believe Midnight is not really racing either. We might have carried on actually, I'm not too sure. He might still be back here, and he might now know that Thomas has pretty much given up because the game keeps failing for him, and maybe now Midnight is back in his car because he can potentially see a championship point. But Louis still leads Blizzard in second. Matt hanging on just at the moment. And Sam in 4th, Lakitu in 5th, still very close together. As Thomas in the pits, well, his ghosted car is in the pits at least, so that promotes Sam into 8th. He's now just over a second, agonisingly just over a second away from Super Guy and picking up some of that sweet, sweet DRS. But Super Guy and Lewis continuing this little scrap over P6 now. And once Matt does pit in a few laps off of those hard tyres, we'll see the true order of the race. Lewis sticks to the left hand side, up the inside goes Super Guy yet again. These guys have exchanged positions, I think, probably about 20 times in this race already. It's at least every lap these guys are exchanging positions, and it's a good battle between these two. I'm sure they're enjoying it because they haven't got the pace to keep up with the guys in front. Ooh, a little bit of a squeeze there, but nice clean driving by the pair of them as well. Turns 4, 5, 6 and 7, you can have a real good battle with someone through there. You can pretty much go side by side all the way through down to here as well. And then it's unfortunately one lane traffic. The track is too narrow, there's no overtaking opportunities, and you pretty much got to just position your car, get yourself set up, ready for another bite of the cherry with a DRS on the exit of turn 3 on the next lap. So Super Guy then will pull away through here just a little bit as that dirty understeering air affects Lewis. You can see him extending coming out the final corner. But Lewis has been getting a better exit through turn 1 pretty much all race. Indeed does the same there as well. Super Guy bounces and twitches over the curb. He won't be happy with that, unbalancing the rear of the car. And Lewis just like that right up behind the Ferrari driver yet again. Sam is agonising just outside of DRS again. Matt, meanwhile, has now pitted. I've missed it, but he's back out on the medium tyres. So this is now the true order of the race as Lakitu passes Sam for P3, and Lewis and Super Guy are battling yet again over P5. So Louis and Blizzard are on their own little battle for the race lead. Lakitu and Sam are exchanging positions again over 3rd and 4th. And now we've got Lewis, Super Guy, Sam and Matt Tibos close together in 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. And I think Matt will make a light work of Sam, who defends the inside. We've got yellow flag in Sector 2 and Sector 3. Oh, Sam there just going a bit deep in the corner, forcing the Alfa Romeo driver off wide. So someone's lost it somewhere, not too sure. Looking at the times on the left-hand side, everyone seems pretty much still as close as they were before. So Matt needs to get past Sam sooner rather than later and start challenging Lewis and Super Guy for potential top 5. Brettster is hanging on, but he's a few seconds back and running wide in the left-hand hairpin as well on those hard tyres. Thomas, we know, is not racing. Midnight is back in, slowly catching Thomas as well. And Sam Ben in the pits then for the second time. Another set of medium tyres for the Red Bull driver. He'll now drop behind Brettster and Thomas into P10. So Matt then now up into 7th. He's almost 2 seconds behind Super Guy and Lewis, but he will slowly catch these guys. He's now on a fresher set of tyres, a grippier, quicker set of tyres as well. So I think Matt will catch sooner rather than later, but this battle is still going on for 5th place between Lewis and Super Guy, and a great battle it is as well. Most of this race I've been watching these two, because Louis and Blizzard aren't really exchanging positions, and Lakitu and Sam are pretty happy to follow each other, but these two are fighting tooth and nail over a top 5 here. We'll jump on board with Matt, see if we can get any sort of action up ahead, see what's going on. We can't really be a bit too far away to see what's happening. And Super Guy trying to hang us around the outside through 7 or through 8. And Lewis retakes that P5 yet again, now into the stadium section. Lap 21 of 34. No pit stops now will be needed by anyone else unless they pick up accident damage or pick up a puncture for some unknown reason. All of these guys can now comfortably get to the end on whatever tyres they're currently running. Midnight though, actually down in 11th, will have to pit again. 13 laps on the mediums, he won't be able to get to the end on those. So Lewis and Superguy 5th and 6th. Matt is now right with them, as you would expect. And he's got to make light work of both of these guys. He has an outside chance of catching Lakitu and Sam. But by the time he gets past, he's going to be 10 seconds behind. With probably 10 or 11 laps left to go. So he'll need a second a lap. Can't see it personally. You can just see how quick Superguy is in a straight line. Lewis has got good top end speed as well. Defends the inside down into 4. And Superguy will try the cutback that Lewis has done to him many times as well. They both know each other's strengths and weaknesses as this race has gone on. They've really learnt a lot about each other in these last 22 laps. And that then ever closer. Battling now through sector 2. Superguy has the inside. Lewis will hang around the outside. Oh, a little bit of contact between them, forcing Lewis off the road just a bit. But Lewis does now take that P5. Matt has to back out the throttle just a little bit. He doesn't want to be right up close behind these guys at this part of the circuit because there's no way through. And Matt knows he's got to get past. Being on those grippier, fresher set of medium tyres. And through the final couple of corners again. So who's going to get the DRS this time? Superguy will definitely do it. Matt will definitely have it as well. Lewis had a good exit through turn 1 though. So it's going to be difficult here for Superguy to complete the move down into turn 4, but he did have a good line into 2. A bit twitchy on exit on 3, running over the curb a little bit, and again you can just see Lewis gets really good launches out of these corners. Sector 1 really is a strong point for Lewis, but then the DRS kicks in for Superguy, and now the gaining happens. Lewis again sort of half defends the inside. Where's Matt in all this? He's now right up behind him as well. Superguy cannot get the cutback this time. So this lap at least, Lewis will keep that P5. And it could very well come down to a last lap battle that decides this battle for P5, 6 and 7. Brett's still losing time behind. He will not be a factor. Sam is a long way back as well. He will not be a factor. Oh, Lewis getting very twitchy through the right-hander. But now they come into the stadium section again. No way through here. So Lewis at the moment still holding on to P5 ahead of Superguy and Matt. So on board with Matt now. This is there are battles further ahead, don't get me wrong. Blizzard's only 2 tenths behind Louis. Sam's only 4 tenths behind Lakitu, but they're so evenly matched on pace that even with the DRS they're not really able to challenge or get past. And Louis been very comfortable. The only time he's lost the lead of this race was during the pit stops. He got jumped by Blizzard in the pits as well, but immediately with the DRS down into turn 4, Louis retook the lead and Blizzard put up no defence whatsoever. Superguy and Lewis battling again over P5 and P6. And this time the Ferrari driver has the advantage. Man the outside for turn 5, but has the inside for 6. And Superguy retakes that P5. This has been a great race-long battle between these two, and poor old Matt cannot do anything about it. He's on the quicker tyres, he's quicker on track. I'm pretty sure that if Matt was ahead he'd be able to pull away at probably over a second a lap, but Lewis and Superguy keep getting DRS off each other, keep overtaking each other, and poor old Matt can see no way through at the moment. So he's pretty much got to just follow these guys, hope that these two start actually getting a bit too much aggressively at each other. Maybe force one of them off the circuit and Matt can sneak through and then get the other one with the DRS. As it stands, Lewis and Superguy very evenly matched. There's everyone else ahead, and Matt unfortunately can find no way through, but Lewis does pick up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding turn 1. And of course with the top 2 and 3rd and 4th very close together, penalties could decide it. I don't look at the race director, I could do to see who has what, but I like to call the action as I see it and then see what happens at the end. Lewis and Superguy fighting yet again into the braking zone for turn 4.
There's still 10 laps to go for these guys, and they must have overtaken each other. It's every lap, isn't it? It's literally every lap these two have been squabbling over P5, and great action it is as well. We've really not had a look at the top 4 in the last 10 or 11 laps, because all the action's pretty much been here, because Sam is quite happy to follow Lakito around in 3 and 4, and Blizzard's quite happy to sit behind Louis. I'm sure at some point Blizzard's got to get the hurry up here. We'll bring up the telemetry and the lap data anyway as we now come into the final handful of laps here, just to see who has what. You can see that Blizzard is pushing with the ERS and Louis is in a bit of fuel safety mode. Both of them have plenty of ERS themselves to use up. Lakitu's a bit low, Sam has a little bit more, so Sam might have an opportunity going down into turn 4. We'll stay on board of the Renault driver to see if he does put this ERS into effect. Lakitu, what's he doing with his? He's up to ERS mode number 3, but that's it. He's pretty much almost out coming down the straight. Sam moves his up with the DRS. He might have an opportunity. He's got an opportunity here to send it up the inside. Indeed, that's exactly what he's doing. We'll come off board. Sam up the inside with the DRS. Lakitu didn't have enough ERS to defend, but he's going to try and hang this around the outside. You can see they're side by side here coming down into the right-hander. Lakitu will have the favourable line as I pressed the wrong button. We'll come off board, see what's happening here. Lakitu is going to try and hang this on the inside, but Sam just races around the outside and retakes that P3. Now, can he hold on to it? That is the big question. Lakitu very fast and these two very evenly matched. Meanwhile, Super Guy and Lewis exchanging positions yet again. Matt holding on in 7th. Can't find a way through yet again. So 5th, 6th and 7th still very close together, and it's really going to be sorted out in the last lap, I think, between these guys. It may very well be sorted out by penalties. We know that Lewis has picked up a couple, so he may even fall behind Matt and maybe even Bretster as well, depending on how many he has. But the key two then, dropping back just a little bit. Sam's being very careful and very conservative with the ERS. Used it at the right time, and he's pulled a little bit of a gap here as well because the key two can't really use much down the straight. In fact, he could use none down the straight. Look at that, he's already into the 10% range. So even with the DRS, Lakitu won't be able to gain too much, and Sam will be able to easily keep hold of this P3 coming down into turn 4. Midnight in 11th picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's being in the pits again, so he's obviously being in for the soft tyres, knowing that he'll be the only driver classified outside the top 10, so he'll get a fastest lap. Of course, the fastest lap rule here for One Hub Racing, something very unique as these three continue to fight and squabble over 5th, 6th and 7th. Super Guy takes it. This might be the first opportunity that Matt's had to actually try and overtake on one of these two, but he's been balked and blocked here as they come into turn 5. There's no way through there, and Lewis back up the inside of Super Guy, but he leaves his braking late. This is an opportunity for Matt. Can he sneak through? He can't. Super Guy blocks him off, and yet again Matt is left frustrated in P7 behind these two that have been fighting race long over 5th, and then picks up a bundle of oversteer into the stadium section for good measure. So going back to what One Hub do with the fastest lap rule, of course if you finish inside the top 10 and set the fastest lap, it's an extra World Championship point for you, as Matt he's overdriven the car, picked up a bit of dirt on I think the left rear as he's come into the final couple of corners. He would have massively overheated those rear tyres as well, so he's got to be careful in these next couple of corners. Matt then remains in 7th place, safe in 7th place. Oh, and you can just see there again as well, them tyres are still not at optimal temperature and the back end is slip sliding all around. So a mistake there by Matt pretty much now means he's going to be settled in 7th place. Lakitu and Sam are fighting and exchanging positions again over P3. So this battle is certainly not over. It's been a good run in this race for Sam. He's had a lot of bad luck so far this season. Some decent qualifying positions, but then it just all falls apart in the race. The Super Guy and Lewis fight over 5th and 6th. And again, if I can go back to talking about the fastest lap, set it inside the top 10, you get an extra World Championship point. We all know that. But if you set the fastest lap in what I like to call bracket number 2, which is 11th down of all the classified finishers, then you get an extra World Championship point for that as well. As it stands, Midnight is the only driver still running outside of the top 10. He's the last driver that will be classified at this point. So if he sets, he sets a quick lap, the extra World Championship point will be for him. So it's disappointing at Midnight. Has not really been at the races. He made a mistake on lap 1, or made contact on lap 1, and then made 3 pit stops in the first 5 laps. Pretty much took him out of contention for any sort of respectable finish, which is disappointing for the Racing Point driver because he's been in a rich vein of form the last few weeks with some solid top 5 positions. You've got yellow flag in sector 3. Who's that for? Not too sure. Everyone carrying on quite nicely, although Bretster is slowly... Oh, hello, Matt's off the circuit at the exit of turn 1. And Bretster picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. So I think Matt's struggling now on those tyres just a little bit. So further up, Lewis and Super Guy, well, no surprise here, they're almost side by side again. Torosso driver retakes that P5, and he does so even before the braking zone. So lap 29 of 34, Sam and Lakitu still very close together, and Blizzard still quite happy to follow Louis round. I think there's possibly been 1 or 2 opportunities where he's had the option to send it up the inside into the braking zone for 4, but for whatever reason Blizzard hasn't been doing it. Maybe he knows that Louis has a certain amount of penalties and Blizzard is just happy to follow. We'll have to wait and see at the end. I know Blizzard has time penalties. I don't know if Louis does. Into lap 30 of 34. Just 5 to go. It's been a fairly entertaining race. We've got Lewis and Super Guy in 5th and 6th to thank for most of the action tonight, because Louis and Blizzard haven't been battling. Lakitu and Sam have been exchanging positions a couple of times. But this time Sam is a bit too far back to try anything into turn 4. But most of the action really has been between Lewis and Super Guy. So we've got these two to thank for it. You've got yellow flags in sector 1. It's Matt spinning again on the exit of turn 1. He's going to lose a position to both Bretster and Sam Gamer. And all of a sudden that Alfa Romeo driver that was looking good for battling for P5 is now all the way down in 9th with some badly worn tyres. They would have overheated massively now in the last couple of laps, as yet again Super Guy and Lewis exchange positions for P5. So poor old Matt, unfortunately, he might pit, to be honest, at the end of this lap, go for a set of soft tyres and try to claim the fastest lap, because Thomas, I don't think will be classified. I don't think he's in this car, is he? No, he's not. So Thomas, I don't think will be classified having missed a majority of this race by not being in the session, and Midnight is way too far back as well to challenge for that P10. So Matt might very well pit, come off those medium tyres, go for a set of softs, try to set the fastest lap of the race. So Sam's still very close at the back of Lakitu. Where's Blizzard in all of this? Let's see now, with just 4 laps to go, Blizzard now starts to put some extra pressure on the McLaren driver. You've got to go for it. You have to go. Right, something is going on here. I'm not too sure what's happening here, but Blizzard is really not trying an attempt on Louis. I can only assume, and I hope I'm right, that Louis has more penalties than Blizzard, and Blizzard knows that all he's got to do is keep it clean and stick to the back of that McLaren driver. If there's anything else out there, it doesn't make sense. Maybe he's going to save it for a last lap send, I don't know, but we've seen Lakitu and Sam exchange positions, and Lewis and Super Guy exchange positions every single lap. They're not scared to keep overtaking each other and not waiting for the final lap. So I can only assume, and I hope and pray that is the reason why, that Blizzard has less time penalties than Louis, because otherwise it makes absolutely no sense to be that close in the braking zone and not at least have a look up the inside. So Lewis then retakes that 5th position for the 728th time in this race from Super Guy. Further back then, we'll have a quick look before the last couple of laps. Bretster has been a fairly quiet race. He hasn't really been at the races at all, just trundling around in 7th place. Slowly being caught by Sam, but his tyres are 10 laps older than the medium, so I think 7th lap is pretty much locked in until penalties change it. Thomas, we know, is not here. Matt indeed has pitted. He's dropped behind the Haas driver, but he will be promoted back into 9th at the end of the race. He has gone, as I said, for a set of soft tyres to try and get the fastest lap, and Midnight coming in 11th place, a long way back. His race pretty much fell apart in the first couple of laps. Lap 32 of 34. Blizzard just sticking to the back of Louis. Sam can do nothing about Lakitu up ahead for P3 this time by. And now we come back to the next battle, the next duo fighting over a position, 5th and 6th. We know here that we're going to see a move. The top 2 and the top 4 aren't exchanging positions, but we know these 2 are. And Super Guy again up the inside of Lewis, heavy braking into turn 4. These 2, I think, will look back on this. I think they'll look back on this and go, good race, pal. I really enjoyed it, because I've really enjoyed watching them exchange positions, because for the last 15 or so laps not a lot else has happened. That's the damage, unfortunately, when you start with 13 people and then immediately down to 11, well 10 if you discount Thomas, and with that few drivers, action is always going to be few and far between. But these 2 have certainly kept us guessing who is going to take P5. It's anyone's guess. It's probably going to come down to penalties more than anything. Super Guy and Lewis have certainly given us plenty of action tonight, and I think both of them will look back at this, look at each other and go, Thanks, pal. Enjoyed the battle. And it's been nice and clean between them as well. We haven't seen much argy-bargy, a little bit of contact. Oh, what's happening? Blizzard and Louis have exchanged positions. Here we go then. So Blizzard has now, as I finally find the right camera angle, Blizzard has now finally decided to get the hurry up. 2 laps to go. And now we're starting to see the Red Bull driver attack Louis for the race lead and therefore the race win as well. And for the first time, Louis is now really under pressure. He's had to defend going through 4, 5, 6 and 7. And Blizzard is now right up behind the McLaren driver, so he has waited 32 and a half laps before he decides this is the time to attack, which is smart, to be honest. I mean, you don't want to be showing your cards too early, as Matt now takes a potential fastest lap of the race and an extra World Championship point for his efforts. And now coming through the final corner, this is it then. This is the final lap of the race. Louis holds on to a slender lead ahead of Blizzard. Lakitu holding on to a slender podium ahead of Sam. And Super Guy and Lewis continue that battle for P5 and P6. But we'll stay with Blizzard now. He's had one opportunity up the inside into turn 4 against Louis. He's going to get a second bite of the cherry and possibly the last attempt he's going to have at trying to get past Sam. Picks up a 3-second penalty for exceeding at turn 1, I assume. So that might have killed his opportunities. Here we go then. Louis defends the inside coming into turn 4. Blizzard as close as you like, ducks out at the final second to the outside with the DRS, heavy on the brakes. Is he going to try to cut back? He is, but Louis manages to just get a slightly better exit. But Blizzard's now right up underneath that rear wing. Louis may very well have to defend. He does, almost forcing Blizzard off, but he opens the door again. Blizzard up the inside, contact between the two of them, but they both managed to keep it clean and on track at least. And Louis then might be a bit unsettled coming into the stadium section. Sam and Lakitu further back are fighting over P3 and P4, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Super Guy and Lewis will be exchanging positions again. But now into the stadium section for the 34th and final time. Penalties may still change this, but on track at least, Louis will have taken down the race win. Blizzard may have left it too little too late to try and challenge for the race win here, but out of the final corner, Louis crosses the line. Does he keep P1? He does. Blizzard had too many penalties. Now we'll jump on board with Sam, who's managed to get P3 ahead of Lakitu, but I think that is going to be a position change once these two cross the line. Sam does finish in third. Lakitu back on the podium with Sam's penalties, and Lewis and Super Guy are fighting through the stadium section. Not the camera angle I wanted. We'll jump on board here. Lewis is off the circuit, and Super Guy does take that P5. Penalties again might just change it as they come up to the line, but the Ferrari finishes in 5th. Lewis, a lot of penalties, down in 6th place. 13 seconds in the end behind the Ferrari driver. Bretster comes out the final corner for a lowly P7 as Sam in the background drifts for P8, and Sam does take P7 at the end. Bretster had too many penalties as well. Thomas, we know, has left the session, and now we wait for Matt to finally cross the line. He'll pick up an extra World Championship point for setting the fastest lap of the race, but it's Louis, Blizzard and Lakitu that will be your top 3 here at Germany. It all came alive in the final couple of laps between the top 2. So congratulations to Louis, who put up with a lot of pressure from Blizzard for the majority of that race. And it wasn't until a couple of laps to go that Blizzard finally decided to turn everything up to 10 and try to take down the race win. But Blizzard had penalties. Louis, I don't think, did either. And so Louis takes down the race win. Blizzard in 2nd place. Lakitu then gets 3rd, finished 4th on track. But Sam, having too many time penalties, pushes the Mercedes driver back onto the podium in P3. So there we go then. Louis did indeed keep it clean. No penalties at all. Pole position and the race win, which extends his lead in the championship. And all eyes are going to be on Louis to see if he manages to take this down sooner rather than later. Good race though from Blizzard. Even with a 6 seconds worth of penalties, he picks up another podium spot with P2. And Lakitu back on the podium after an absence with P3. Sam did finish on track in 3rd, but too many time penalties. You can see there. 9 seconds to Lakitu's 3 pushes the winner driver down to 4th, but I think he'll be happy with that. Super Guy wins that fantastic battle with Lewis for P5. Sam and debut finishes in 7th ahead of Bretster, Thomas who disconnected, and Matt who picks up the final point and the fastest lap of the race. VRT Midnight a long way back in 11th, and at mid-race we lost both VSR Onyx and LR Nick. Therefore that is the race and the stream coming to an end. It's now my turn to pick the 2 drivers of the days. To be honest with you, I could pick Lewis and Super Guy because they gave us more action than everyone else combined, but I don't think driver of the day should really go to the guys that finish in 5th and 6th. It's a difficult one because, let's be honest, only 10 people really finished, and I'm not going to give it to the guys that finished further down because, well, they didn't do too much. So it's a difficult one, but I think Sam deserves 1 vote because he's had a bit of a rotten run of luck at the moment, and finally at Germany he's managed to keep it relatively clean. Yes, I know he had penalties, but that's something we can overlook. But he qualified on the second row of the grid and finished 3rd on track, but finished 4th in the final classification. So I think Sam is deserving of 1 of the driver of the days, and it's I could give it to Super Guy or Lewis, but if I give it to one of them, I'm going to have to give it to the other one as well. So I'm going to leave it out because it'd be a bit unfair to say that Super Guy was one of the drivers of the day because he did just as well as Lewis with that fantastic battle in the second half of the race. So I think we'll turn around and give the second vote to Louis, pole position by 4/10 of a second, and put up with a lot of pressure from Blizzard as well in that race, and had to defend quite aggressively in the last couple of laps to keep down the race win. But it's pole and a race win yet again for our championship leader. So my 2 votes for driver of the day, which of course will be released by One Hub on Twitter in the next couple of days, goes to our race winner Louis, and the man that finished in P4 for Renault, Sam. So thank you very much to everyone that has tuned in. Apologies that the stream has been a little bit quiet tonight, and obviously we didn't have that many drivers racing for whatever reason. Maybe it's a busy night for most of the guys in the Prestige tier, I don't know. Hopefully it'll pick up in the next few weeks. But anyway, my name has been Alex Lilliart. For all of you that has tuned in at various points in the stream, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys at 9:30 next week for round 12 of the Prestige tier.